Former Conservative Party leader, Tory MP for Chingford and Woodford Green, Sir Iain Duncan Smith. Morning, Sir Iain. You respond, because I think that's a really good question by Brian. How can this government ride roughshod over the electorate's needs, wants, desires and rights?
Well, they're abusing their majority in Parliament. They're making arbitrary decisions as though they had a sort of right to dictatorship here in the UK. I've noticed that trend everywhere. Their deceit over the Chagos Islands deal, which we're now uncovering bit by bit, their attempt to ram it through at speed without hardly any debate at all. They gave no rationale or reasoning behind it. And this is as well. I mean, the idea that they have to delay these elections for 2 years because they've got things to do and to change them, and then they try and sweeten the pill by saying there may be more money. It's like treating us like children. If you're good, there may be just a little bit of money for you. Well, it shouldn't rub. And I'm certain that my lot will oppose it. And I would think almost everybody else would oppose it too, because it's anti-democratic. You can't just interfere and then cancel things. And you can't also, just upsetting those who want to vote just simply because you've got some idea that you need to make change. Get on with it, make the change, whatever it is, put it to Parliament, but don't, for God's sake, stop elections. They're the lifeblood of who we are and what we do. And local elections are important as national elections too.
It's interesting for me because, I sit and watch this unfold in the mornings, and the same thing comes back to me in every single day. Increasingly, this government, in fact, MPs, not all MPs, but so many politicians, fundamentally to me seem to forget the most important thing, which is that they have a job because they've been elected by the British people. I would love to be actually I wouldn't want to be anywhere near Starmer and his cronies, but one wonders what common sense, if any, there is. There's somebody not leaning forward going, mate, in those 4 constituencies, you're screwing yourself even more. You are denying, as I thought the phrase I used was right, the British people their right. You are telling people that you're scared of their reaction.
If there's some kind of technical issue here or some peculiarity, then why don't they bring it forward in the House of Commons and say, we may need to look at this, it may need a delay, we'll take the opinion and the view of parliamentarians from that area and others before we even start thinking about a solution. They didn't do that, and they don't do this at all. They really, because they've got this ridiculous majority gain, by the way, on 33% of the poll, it's only because of the collapse on the right of politics that they're there at all. And the reality, therefore, is they didn't get a mandate to dictatorship. They got a mandate to govern. Govern is also about consultation. And they need to come back to the House of Commons and talk about why they have such a drastic problem. And if we don't agree with it, they should back off. And the truth is, people could work round the clock to sort out any technical problems. Why aren't they doing it now? Why haven't they been doing it if they know there's a problem? If there's any other problem, tell us what it is. Otherwise, it begins to look a little bit like gerrymandering the electoral process.
Completely. Before I talk about the situation in East Crowborough with you, you talked about how they got in with 33% of the vote in the last election, Sir Iain. You talked about the collapse of the right. Yesterday, we woke up to that front page in the FT about Farage had allegedly sort of mentioned to donors that there would be a need to have some sort of agreement/alliance. He came out and tweeted and said no. Richard Tice came on and said no. Kemi Badenoch said no. I asked the excellent person who was on just earlier, and it's completely gone from my mind. What Matt Vickers? Matt Vickers, there's people everywhere. And I want to ask you, as the ex-leader of the Conservative Party, because you said then collapse of the right. Imagine a scenario 2 years down the line. I know there's, it's important that parties stick their necks out and say what they say, but if we do face, as a country, with everything we've been through for the last 15 months, if we do face this sort of revolting alliance of the idiots in the Green Party and the Your Party and the Liberal Democrats and Labour, would the right actually not owe it to the British people, democratically, to get their heads together for the sake of saving us from more of this hell? Do you think that at some point would have to be or might have to be a conversation that had to be had?
Well, all these things are part of politics, and the reason we have a democracy is people look at the challenges, they talk to each other, and cooperation takes place even in the House of Commons on a daily basis. Lots of parties are in the same lobbies in opposition to things. The truth is, the whole of the left, I think, at the moment is fracturing. In the sense that there are going to be four, maybe even. I mean, your party is either. I don't think it's even one party. I think it's two parties.
It's not my party.
Yeah, yeah. Well, your party, Jeremy Corbyn's party, no longer seems to be one party. It seems to be two parties sharing a space in a hall somewhere. But the reality is, though, I think rushing to these things is never a good idea. Whatever happens, we need to see what the British public really are concerned about, and we need to deal with their concerns. We made some mistakes under the last Conservative government. They're mistakes that that have cost us dear. But learning from those mistakes is important, and demonstrating to the British public that we got it. We know what we did wrong. We know what we should do. You'll be fed up with this lot because they are going to govern for a very minority of the country and shuffle money down their throats to try and keep them voting for them. By the way, that's what happened under the last Blairite government, was that they used to up the amount they gave to child tax credits a year or so before an election, then would come out saying Tories will take it away from you. So all these disasters they're about to impose on us, and the biggest is by Labour, the welfare spending now, which is going to go up by 16 million in this part of the Parliament, but it will rise by the end of the Parliament, believe it or not, by 91 billion pounds a year, which is taxpayers' money. So those who argue on what I call free markets conservatism do and will bring their ideas together and will cooperate with each other. How far that goes, I can't argue, and I think speculating about the future is difficult when I don't know what's going to happen 1 week ahead. So politics is always best about deal with what's in front of you and let the cards fall.
A bit like this show. Let me ask you about something that's really, really annoyed so many people who are listening and watching today. We know by now the story about Crowborough in East Sussex, the military base that's been used as a training base for the last 80 years since the end of World War II. Teenage cadets trained there regularly. The ladies, the community came out and said, we don't want 600, small boat unvetted migrants coming to our town. Worse still, there are dangers. This is an extraordinary announcement today. Teenage cadets have been ordered by the defence chiefs, ordered to leave this camp in the next few hours to not only make way for those 600 small boat migrants, but when pressed, those defence chiefs, Iain, have admitted it won't be safe for the cadets. And at the risk of being a bit basic here, so we're worried about the cadets, but sod the local community, yeah?
Yeah, I'm afraid this is getting from bad to worse, really. The government, when they came in, immediately got rid of the Rwanda scheme, which was going to send people who shouldn't have been here, who came illegally, over there for their vetting processes as they do, but they're not in the UK. That deal they scrapped immediately. And I said at the time, why do you want to scrap that deal? You will find that there's no other way to sort this out but to get people out of the country double fast instead of looking after them here in the UK. And they said, oh, no, we know what we're doing. Well, they don't, because now what's happening is the numbers have been going up still, and their problem is, where do we put them? They know the public don't want them in these little hotels around the country, because without controls and spending huge sums of money sending them all over the country in taxis. So what do? They decide, we'll use some of the army bases, because defence of the realm isn't as important as dealing with migrant needs and wants. Well, I have a point to make to them, which is, having served in the army, I can tell you now, defence of the realm is the number one thing the government's meant to do. And yet, by moving them out of the hotels and into army camps, it doesn't solve any problem at all. It just pushes it somewhere else to some other community. The answer is, what you have to do is say to the courts, we are going to have to deal with the Convention of Human Rights and start shipping these people away, out, abroad, away from the UK, which they came to illegally. And until we grasp that nettle, this is going to be where they're... So it's camps today. Where's it going to be later on? Bond Street? Into those shops, saying, listen, we're going to take this. The whole thing is irrational.
It's irrational, and it makes a mockery. And you served in the army, and it's something that I'm so strong on, and I'll say it every single day. So forget the cadets. It's not safe for you go. I am beyond embarrassed when I see veterans, OK, who have put their names and their necks on the line for my liberty and my country being on the streets, and we're allowing these people. And people jump up and down and go, oh, but we need to welcome refugees. What about the people who fought for this country? What about those people? I think it's outrageous. And it's not safe for cadets. Well, let's forget the kids in schools and the women on the streets. Let's also talk about that veteran I see every Saturday sat there going, Jez, I did 14 years and I'm on the streets because they've thrown me out for migrants. I think that is an absolute stain on our society, Sir Iain. I think it's disgusting.
I agree with you. I agree. And I think this is why the government has lost the plot. And now, of course, as you hear, they're trying to get rid of jury trials.
Yeah.
I mean, we are in a sort of... Listen, I had lots of differences with the Blair government all the way down the line. But the one thing I would never have accused them of being certifiably stupid. But I do begin to wonder whether this government isn't. I mean, take this issue about the health department investigating this idea about mental health problems being a huge draw on benefits.
Yes.
We argued about that for years and years and years, and we put forward at the Centre for Social Justice a whole plan how you deal with it. The trick is, we already know that we've over-medicalised normal ups and downs of daily life. That is our problem. You can't just be a little bit depressed about something. Now you have to be medically depressed. You can't suffer from anxiety. You have to be suffering from a medical form of anxiety. So immediately you go into the GP's office, they will have to sign you off because they don't know how to define whether you're...
If you see one, if you can see one.
And then what happens is they go on to benefit. And the benefit bill has been soaring. We argued and gave forward to the government earlier in the year a plan which is to say, don't pay people who come into the doctor's surgery saying I'm depressed or I'm suffering from anxiety. We know that work is the best medical solution to any form of depression or anxiety. So don't give them the money like that. Use some of that money to give them help and support, but under the condition that they now start seeking work.
Yep.
And that the DWP will help them find that work. That will save, we reckon, anything between £7-9 billion. And what's really important about it is we want them back in work. We don't, the longer they sit at home suffering from what they call depression or anxiety, the worse that gets, by the way. Then they get other illnesses and sicknesses. Then they become really certifiably and dangerously ill. You want them back in work, and the health department has already said work is the best treatment for depression, anxiety, or even, in many cases, ADHD. So this doesn't need to be looked into desperately because we know what the problem is. The answer is it shouldn't be a major medical problem. The problem is get them back into work, give them something to do, and they will forget about their depression and anxiety. That's what the doctors know. That's what we should know, and stop paying benefit to people who have medicalised a condition that, goodness gracious, you will have suffered from, I will have suffered from, everybody will have suffered on their working.
I think look, there's a message here that I sort of want to read, but I mean, look, I have to, because that's the nature of what I do. There are concerns when you and I would talk like that, just hear me out, that people who are genuinely in need think that we're labelling, and we're not, because here's what I'm going to say. I will pay my tax and I will do everything for those people who are mentally ill, physically disabled and unable to work. But what those people have to know is we have to have this debate, because the people who are gaming the damn system, OK, are taking money away. Zoe in Lancashire, you'll identify with this. Some people will go, wow, she went, Jez, when I were a kid in the 80s, no such thing as ADHD. We just had a smack or a beating sent to our room, no tea, told to behave, get up in the morning, get on with your life. Nowadays, oh my God. But actually, we've become soft and we've become reliant. And it's like this story in today about 200,000 people pitching up at A&E saying, I've got ingrowing toenails or a sore throat. We have to take a little bit of responsibility ourselves, don't we?
Yeah, yes, this is the whole point. I ran the benefit system for a while, and we had, when I'd finished, the lowest number of workless households since records began. Over 1,600 people have been out of work. We're going into work every single day. And with the benefits bill, came down by some 30 billion a year. And that was simply dealing with these areas where we have too much been driven by the idea of rights. The key question here is, what's the problem? If the problem is that people are depressed, and by the way, I remember a wonderful charity called Tomorrow's People. Now, they did a deal with a surgery in East London once, and what they said was, look, instead of signing them off, we'll go into the other surgery room and send them to us. and they work to help them get back into work.
Absolutely.
And that surgery's antidepressant bill fell by 60% in the course of the following year. Why? Because instead of saying, here's some medication, go home and sit and get worse, what they did was they said, let's find you a job. Getting them a job
motivation
boosted their morale, got them out, and no longer were they depressed. Lots of reasons why people get depressed, but the one thing is be busy. Get on with your life, do things, take decisions. And that's what the health department actually knows and believes, which is work is the best medical treatment for depression or anxiety. So what we should be doing here, we know what the problem is. What the solution is say, no, your prescription is going to be work.
I couldn't agree more.
We'll work with you to get you into work, gainful employment, working at a charity, get up in the morning early, go to work.
Get something on the CV, give something back, get motivated, everybody's happy. Iain, so good to have you on. We love having you on the show. Thank you so much indeed.